Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. So if you are reserving a seat for somebody, let's get seated. There's some extra seats in the front, so if you want a seat, you've got about 30 seconds to grab them. All right. I know we're all very excited to be here this morning. And as soon as we get silence, we can get started. So we don't have the other decisions.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to get started with our community meeting. My name is Mario Castillo, Houston City Council Member, District H, here joined by my colleagues, District I Council Member Joaquin Martinez, At-Large 1 Council Member Julian Ramirez. We're very excited that you are here. This is an exciting day. We've got a great turnout. Obviously, there's a lot of interest and enthusiasm about the potential Hispanic History Research Center. And so this meeting is an opportunity for us to get together, to learn more about this facility, what is being planned, how it fits into the bigger picture of what's happening here on the East End with the Buffalo Bayou Partnership expansion of the Bayou Greenways. And so we're just excited to have this opportunity. I do want to take a moment and recognize some other elected officials who are here in support. We have our Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. We have our State Representative Cristina Morales. We have former District I Council Member Robert Gallegos. I know there he is. And we have former At-Large Council Member Gracie Sines also here. And Council Member Willie Davis is here. There he is in the back. So we appreciate y'all being here and your support for this historic and important facility that's on the way. I do want an opportunity for my colleagues here to also give some remarks. So at this time, Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, Councilmember Castillo. And we'll be brief because we know y'all are more interested in what's going on, but it's 10:18. It takes forever for Latinos to finally sit down and calm down and get ready for something. It's an important gathering. It's an important conversation. This has been a long time coming. This was on the CIP over 5 years ago. We're at a right point where these dollars are now coming to fruition. We're at a right point where community can participate in the conversation as well. And I just want to, it's been such a great experience to work with Councilmember Ramirez, Councilmember Castillo, the three amigos. I think we're kind of coining that now. When we sit down with Buffalo Bayou Partnership, when we sit down with the Houston Public Library, when we have conversations with departments, we're talking and we're making sure folks know that we're talking because our voice needs to be one and it needs to be strong together. And so your voice jumping in a part of this conversation as well needs to be one, needs to be unified, and it needs to be strong together. What the potential that this has for our community, yes, there's a Buffalo Bayou Partnership project, but this is for our community right here. And so my plea to you is keep walking with us throughout this whole journey until we see the building come up, until we see the programs happen. And then after that, keep the journey going and participate in this Hispanic Research Center, because this is our Hispanic Research Center. With that, I'm gonna pass it over to my colleague.
Thank you all so much for being here. I'm at-large Councilmember Julian Ramirez, and what a great turnout. This exceeds my expectations, and I'm so happy to see this. There's so many important people in this room, and we could not do this without you. Just FYI, this project was approved under the last administration. In my opinion, there wasn't adequate engagement done. And so we want to show what engagement looks like. And thank you for helping us show what engagement looks like. Going forward, I want you all to be a part of this, what this looks like, how it's used, how it helps our community and the larger community in Houston. To Joaquin's point, yes, we are stronger when we act together. And let me tell you, we are acting together, and we will continue to do so. In a way that hasn't been done in a long time. We have a great mayor who is listening, who is responsive, and he's not just paying lip service to our views and to our needs. He is really taking it to heart, and so I'm thankful for that. Shout out to our staffs. 3 great council staffs make this possible, what you see here. So, thank you for that. I hope you came with questions, because we'll have answers for you to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Okay, so just a little information on how today is going to run. The Buffalo Bayou Partnership is here. They have a table and they have some renderings. Feel free to check those out, look at what they are proposing as part of the expansion of the Bayou East Greenways, and visit with them, and you can talk to them directly. We are going to have the Houston Public Library come up and talk more about this space, and then we're going to have some time for your questions, and we really want that to be your questions and comments. We want that to be the bulk of how we spend this opportunity and this community forum. So we're going to get right to it, and we're going to have John Middleton with the Houston Public Library come up and talk more about this research center. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out. We're excited. I hope you're excited about this. It's been a journey. It's always a journey for us to do something this major. I'll let you know that we first envisioned this facility about 10 years ago. We were doing our master plan. We put it in our master plan. It was approved by the administration. Thankfully, the citizens of Houston voted for the bond that will help fund this. And we were on our way with this and many, many other projects in that bond, in that master plan. We got sidelined by a hurricane. We got sidelined again by a pandemic. But we never lost sight of what our goals are. And our goal is to make this happen. And so about 5 years ago, after a lot of that, those delays got behind us, we worked with the city to get this into the CIP, into the planning process. It wasn't supposed to happen last year. It was further out. But with support from the council offices and others, we were able to move it up. So we got the funding in place last year, and this project really got kicked off. We've been working with Buffalo Bayou Partnership about this site for some time. Over the last 5 years, 6 years, I think we looked at a dozen different sites. Some of them were good, some of them were not. We are excited about this space, mainly 2 reasons. One, the partnership. What Buffalo Bayou Partnership is going to do on this side of town is amazing. We can't think of a better partner. And this space, it's much larger than we could have afforded otherwise. It'll allow us to make the research center bigger than it was going to be with the budget that we have. And additionally, we'll have space for archives, be able to expand our archives and our archive processing in a way that benefits all the research centers. Over to my right, we have a table that talks about how we collect and what we do with the research center. So please stop by if you have questions about what we do with the stuff and how to get it and what happens to it. But for us, the most exciting thing is that we're getting started. We're really getting started. This month, there'll be an RFP going out for architects and designers to get qualified to bid on this design process. And the whole design process will take about a year, typically. We do design, permitting, all that stuff. During that year, Buffalo Bayou will be finishing this space. And you'll see some renderings at the side and on their side what this will look like. When our design is complete and this is complete, we'll start construction inside. And that'll take about another year. So it's always about a 2-year process to do a project this large. In the meantime, we'll be reaching out with the help of our council offices to get your input about what this space can be for the community. We always have a lot of programs and services and different things happening. We want to make sure that we are providing what the community needs and wants in this facility. So we will be engaging over the next year during design to make sure we accommodate those things in the design. And then we'll be working again later to make sure that when we do start programs and exhibits and all those things that we're meeting the expectations of the community. So thank you for coming out, and we look forward to your input today.
Thank you, John. And when we move forward into questions, I just want to say a few things and give my colleagues an opportunity if they want. He mentioned an RFQ process for the design. This is something that's open to the public, that people can look at, architecture firms can look at, and submit proposals to be selected as the firm that's going to put the design together for this facility. And so we want to make sure that gets out far and wide. We're getting a lot of interest and we're getting a lot of folks submitting because we want a varied pool. We want folks that have perspectives and experiences that will speak to what this space can be. We want to think about all those opportunities out there. And that's only going to happen if we get that RFQ to a lot of interested parties. So we're going to do our part to make sure that that is known, that that is shared. And we ask you to do the same, because that's just going to help make this space that much more better, that much more inclusive, and that much more tied to the community and the history when we have firms that have that experience and have that background and have the employees that know what that's like a part of the process. So just to further elaborate on that, as we move into questions, there is a microphone over here. If you'd like to ask a question, please go line up there. We also, if you just need someone to come to you with a microphone, raise your hand. We have a microphone that we can bring to you. We're going to give everybody a minute to ask your questions just so we can be respectful of time, and then we'll be up here to answer. Would you like to add anything else?
And I want to thank Julian for recognizing our teams, District I, District H, and at large as well. But I also want to give a shout out to Segundo Coffee, Segundo Coffee Lab. They contributed free. So Martha and Emmanuel Gill, thank you. They're District I business, small business. Go support them. Thank you.
Okay, great. We're going to start with our questions, and we're all good? Okay. Gracie?
Yes. For so long, a lot of our archives have been at the library, and nothing has been done in terms of getting them processed. I want to know, while this is going on, what are you going to do to continue to process those archives? Is it additional personnel? Or can you have partnerships? I would like to suggest the University of Houston, Arte Publico Press as well. So I think that question is for Mr. Middleton.
Thank you for the question. We do understand there's been some delays perceived and real about processing. It all comes down to funding. We have applied and received grants that we've discussed with the council members about getting that done, and some of that work is continuing. And we have a plan and a process in place for using those grant funds and additional funds that we may get to help further that along. One of the exciting things about this project is that we'll finally have an archival space that allows us to do that in a more efficient way for all the archives. We're excited about that. We all know the city has financial problems. The library has not the amount of money we wish we had. All of this comes down to funding. So I think that as we will apply for more grants, if the city can support us even more with that staffing, because staffing is expensive. Even having it shipped out to be processed by others is expensive. So we are methodically going through with the resources that we have those resources become available.
But you are open to partnerships?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just add, I can tell you that Joaquin, Mario, and myself have had 2 meetings with the top library leadership on this very issue. And I can tell you the speed at which things are happening right now has increased tremendously. And we're going to continue to stay on it to make sure that improvements are made.
Hello. So my background is in program planning and evaluation for the better part of more than a decade, I would say. And one thing that I do know about any programs that come into our neighborhoods, a lot of information is gathered and used, and we never really get any ownership of that information. We never get any accountability measures in those processes. And so while this is, I understand that funding always comes into play, but one thing that I do believe is not only approachable, but can go an even longer distance. How does this project plan on creating like a feedback loop of information? So y'all come to us and y'all gather our historical, information, y'all gather our input. What accountability measures do y'all have, planned or unplanned or realized or unrealized, that we could hold you accountable to be able to say, hey, this we took part in, here's record of it, this is the process moving forward, this is a loop back kind of filtered information, this is a report, maybe even doing like a beginning, middle, and end report, maybe even doing a 2-year out report or a 3-year out report?
That's a great question. I'll let John speak to that. I think he's going to be answering most of our questions today.
Again, thank you for the question. There's always room for improvement in everything that we do. And one of the reasons we're meeting today, and I mentioned that we'll have more meetings and outreach going forward, is to make improvements in the way we communicate, the way that we plan, and the way that we give feedback. I urge all of you to stay involved, to help us understand how we can best serve you with this facility and with our operations. So if there have been issues that you think have not been the greatest in the past, we're here to help, hopefully, have you help us make it better in the future.
If I can make a suggestion, there's a process called plans within plans, where if you're starting off at the beginning, as you're gathering your metrics and your information, at the end of that beginning process, it automatically triggers a feedback loop so that you're coming back into the community. And then you can establish your markers for moving forward. I've been very successful with it, but I think that that's something that this project at this magnitude, and it's going to be probably for the next couple of years at least. It is something that, as you said, engaging, it keeps the population engaged as you're moving. So you're building and you're carrying as you climb. So it might be something to think about.
Absolutely, and then if you can find me afterwards, let's talk about it some more.
Absolutely. Thank you.
One point to your question is that down the road, we will have a friends group for this facility, and those perspectives, keeping tabs on how processes are worked and studies that are done and research that's collected and what happens to it, that's a great opportunity for a friends group to ensure that it's seen through and that something comes from that. So keep that in mind as well. There will be a mechanism to keep the library accountable, or the research center accountable, to what it is conducting through an informal group that's not an advisory group, but more of a friends group.
And just to add to that, similar to any project, we have a public works project. So there's a pre-construction meeting. There's construction meetings that go on in between. We want to make sure that we have as many of those gatherings as possible, so that way you can also participate. To what Mario was saying, a friends of is important, so that way we have those community stakeholders engaged. And this conversation, this is gonna be the first of many conversations. I don't like calling them meetings because they're not meetings. A dialogue needs to happen, and a dialogue means that you're speaking to us, we're speaking to you, and we're gaining a sense of an understanding of what is it that we want to see for the larger community. So there will be progress meetings. There will be, along with GSD, our general services, that'll be managing the project as well. So parallel to what the public library is doing, there's several moving parts. And if your interest is in the project itself, the vertical, there's an opportunity for that. If you're interested in what the programming is like, there's going to be opportunities for that as well.
Yes, my name is David Contreras. I'm the LULAC National Historian. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Millie Contreras, who's the president of Council 688. I want to answer Gracie Science' question. There has been significant progress that has been made in the last 3 months than we've had in the last 5 years, thanks to Councilmember Ramirez, Castillo, Martinez, State Representative Morales, and Senator Alvarado. We just found out that we have a $250,000 grant from the Houston Endowment that is being used in addition to the current resources to grow our archives. And so some of the more significant collections are being archived. As a matter of fact, we recently found out that Viva magazine has been turned over to a vendor to be archived and digitized. So we are just ecstatic about it. The other thing is that we are now getting responses from the Houston Public Library leadership. Last night, I sent an email to Cynthia Wilson at 8 o'clock. And I asked her about 3 recommendations that we had submitted to the mayor, to city council, and to the library leadership, dealing with forming an advisory group during the interim until we can form a friends group, and we actually have the facility here. 2, to showcase our digital archives, both the Latino and African American archives on the website. And thirdly, to do more outreach so that the general public knows that these wonderful, wonderful historical archives exist. And I got a response from her at 12:39 this morning. So we are just thrilled with this presentation, and we're getting attention. Thank you very much.
Nextilike toshua, nextilike topipi cuatli tlazacamati, najua nide, Houston, Texas. Kentoka Jesus Cantu Medel. I speak to you in the Nahuatl language because that language is part of the indigenous communities of the Americas. It's part of the indigenous languages of Texas. So my point is, I think it would be important for us to include the Native American communities as we move forward. The last thing that I want to mention is that we are a Chicano-themed museum that started in 1994 here in Houston, Texas. Within the context of a museum, we have the largest collections of archival data that can be extremely useful to this initiative. So if you want to see our work in the meantime, check out our ceremonial metate that's right here on this street at 250509 Navigation, right across from Merida's restaurant. That's an example of our public art piece. And then we have a giant metate, molcajete, right behind the Leonel Castillo Community Center. So we invite you to see those 2 projects. Lastly, if you want to see our archives, we currently have them at the Houston Public Library and the University of Houston Library as well. Gracias, Raza.
Thank you for that. I want to point out and make a note for you that one of the things we also collect are oral histories. Oral histories in any language. So as we move forward, be thinking about that. We want to make sure we capture those voices in their own voices and not just written documents. So thank you.
Before our next question, let me just recognize David Contreras, who asked a question, or actually made a comment just a minute ago. I want to thank David, who's been an archivist for LULAC, and others who've been working to promote this idea of a Hispanic Research Center. We also have Blanca Blanco with us this morning, who is responsible for the wonderful Viva magazines that were inserts in the Houston Post a number of years ago. They are treasures, they are time capsules, and her husband Freddie is here as well. And what David was referring to is, it's been a long time coming, but I think very soon we're going to see all these Viva magazines in beautiful living color on the website for all to enjoy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Carolina Villarroel. I'm with Arte Público Press. I'm also an archivist, and I've been involved in archives in the city of Houston for the Latino community for a long time. So I'm very happy to be here and to be part of the history making. And I have a question in regards to sustainability. I heard a lot when what you've been talking about. This is going to be the Hispanic Research Center. But I heard also that it will be like an overflow from other collections, other research centers. So my question is around the future, right? We, because of our work, we know there is a lot of history still in our communities. And I want to make sure that that is in the plans of future growth, that we're going to have enough space to sustain these collections, to receive these collections here. Thank you.
Great question. And one of the things I've struggled with since the beginning of this process, because all of our archives are filling up. Houston is a big city, lots of people, and a lot of stories to tell, and a lot of stories for us to capture and preserve. This space we're in right here will be the research center. Behind that wall is another 5,000 square feet that'll be archive space dedicated to conservation, preservation of archives from all the research centers. We don't have a space like that at all right now. And that's one of the best parts about this project, is that within the budget that we have, we're able to do this. If we had another $20 million, we'd be doing a whole lot more. But with the resources that we have, this has been the best opportunity we have been made available to us to both have an archive space where we can process, preserve, and keep these collections safe, but also a research center where they can be shared with the community.
My name is Gabriela Baeza Ventura. I'm a faculty at the University of Houston and Deputy Director of Arte Público Press. And I'm very happy and I congratulate you on this endeavor to open up this space to finally center the Latino community in a conscientious way. I think this is extremely valuable. But I also want to document the need to have representatives from various aspects of our community, from the different communities who are already doing this work. To not dismiss the archivists who previously worked at the Houston Public Library, whose words and whose work towards the commitment to archives was not taken into consideration. Not only that, but also to think about what other endeavors are already happening in the Houston area where we don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. Let's try to build a network where we are supporting each other, building a strong spider web so that if they touch the archives, in the Houston Public Library, they're touching Arte Público Press, they're touching our brothers over at the African American collections, that we establish other centers and networks across the city so that we don't burden and tax one community to do all the work. I think the last comment that was made about how are we going to make sure that we are growing this space and that we are really working towards the keeping of these archives in a respectful manner, it's something that needs to go a long ways into sustainability. And so I really urge you to really think through about that in a conscientious way and bring these people to the table now as we're planning it, and not later as an afterthought, because that may be too late. Houston is a city that has hurricanes, it has a lot of issues with weather, etc. These people need to be at the table now. our history should not be forgotten or an afterthought to anybody. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Robert Gallegos, and first of all, I want to thank the Three Amigos for putting this event on. This is something that has been in the works for 10 years. This is something that, as former council member reaching out to the library system to ask for community input. Unfortunately, we didn't have any community input. So again, I'd like to stress to the library system that you will be open in regards to having community input in regards to the design and the resources and what's going to be collected and what have you here at the new Hispanic Archive Center. I know I met a few years ago with Dr. Nicolas Carneros with the Arte Público Press, and he has stated that he has been reaching out to the library system for a partnership, but was not successful. And I reached out to the former director asking for a partnership with Arte Público to no avail. So again, Arte Público is there. They have the expertise, and they're wanting a partnership. And I'm asking the library system for that partnership. I know David Contreras worked in regards a couple of years ago to get an Hispanic Library Advisory Board so we can have input on this research center. I reached out to Mayor Turner. Unfortunately, Mayor Turner didn't approve it. So if we can also have an Hispanic Advisory Board for this Library Research Center would be helpful, and I'm hoping that the Three Amigos can make sure that happens as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your point, Councilmember Gallegos, and thank you for your service to this project. You talk about engagement, and I want everybody to know that this isn't the last of the engagement. For instance, the RFQ that is going out will require whichever firm is selected to do the design on this to engage the community and to solicit input. But it's our responsibility to make sure that happens. And as governing officials, as elected officials, we need to be better about that. But when it doesn't happen, you as a community need to be more demanding as well. And so I'd ask that you stay on top of this. To Councilmember Gallegos' other point, yes, Friends Group is important, but I agree, we may need more than that. An advisory committee of some sort, and I hope the library will consider forming this so that we can have greater input on what is constructed here.
Definitely agree with you, Councilmember Gallegos, and I think we have all been in lockstep on the need for engagement, on the need for input, not just today, but throughout this entire process. And if there are ways we can get additional engagement or bring in stakeholders in different points of this, I'd be all in support of that.
And I'll just add on to Arte Público. So I was on the board for Arte Público for a couple of years as well. So I know them very well. They do great work. I'm a fan, and they're going to be a part of this process as well.
So we have a few extra chairs up here in the front that have been vacated. So if you need a spot to sit, there are some chairs in the front. And for those having conversations, there are some folks who have requested, it's kind of hard to hear. So if we could just kind of keep the conversations to a minimum while we're answering these questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kirby Liu, and I have a relatively boring comment and question. But as noted on the invitation to this event, parking is very limited here, and thank you to the constables and the police officers that helped us cross the street today. But you guys may have noted that there was a lot of oncoming traffic and things like that, so I just wanted to point out that a lot of the parking will be happening across the street, and how the design can be comprehensive in terms of making it safe for people to cross the street in traffic calming manners, or I love the beautiful rendering over there, but I'm not sure if that's overly ambitious with the streetscape, so just wanted to point that out as well as a public safety thing.
Great comment. We all kind of experienced that this morning getting here. And so I believe this facility will have, is it 27 spaces? We'll have 27 dedicated spaces, and the rest of that parking is going to have to come from somewhere else. There are plans to redo Navigation Boulevard that would facilitate easier ways to cross. I would encourage you to stay engaged on those because my understanding is that they are paused at the moment. And so if that is something that the community wants, the neighborhood wants, make sure that I know it, make sure that the mayor knows it, make sure your at-large council members know it, because we do want to see that come to fruition if we know we're going to have a lot of folks crossing Navigation to get here so that they can do that, they can park, and they can get here in a safe way.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Micaela Selly. I am an archivist here in Houston, a former Hispanic Collections archivist at the Houston Public Library. Thank you. Thank you so much, council members, for listening to us and getting us to this point. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I just want just some clarification on, is this a library and archive and museum, all three? What does that look like? And how is the space going to be dedicated to those different aspects if it is? And along those lines, what is the relationship to the current collections that are housed in the Julia Idison building, and how is all of that going to work? Thank you so much.
Good to see you. So, number one, it's not a library. We have the beautiful Flores Library nearby that provides typical library services, collections, books, checking out, story times. That is not this. This is a research center in particular. We have 3 others, and this will be our 4th. And these are intended to be places where people can both learn, explore, experience the culture and the collections that we'll have here. Our other research centers are used by students, they're used by writers, they're used by all kinds of people, architects, artists trying to discover things about different cultures. That's what the purpose of this place is. It's also not a museum. We don't have the ability or the function to house artifacts in the way that a museum does. And so it's not that. We typically don't collect 3D objects unless they're going into our civic art collection. There will be a gallery here, there will be exhibits here, but those things are not part of the research center's collection, if you will. We'll bring in other partners, other artists, other institutions to partner with and bring things to this space. So not a library, not a museum, a research center, and we're going to focus on that and focus on what that means and work on what needs to be here. Typically in a space like this, the archives teams want to have things that are used most commonly, that are requested most commonly, readily available. There's some things in collections that are rarely used. They're important, but they're pretty specific things. And those things are typically kind of in an archive space and they can be brought out if someone requests them. In this space, there'll be spaces to come and study, to do tours, all those types of things that we do now, the others, but this space is much larger. And one great thing about this space is that it's wide open. We can do anything here as design-wise. In our other places, there are historic buildings that we can't change this, we can't take down that wall, we can't do this, and we're really limited. What's exciting about this design process here is that we can make it exactly what it needs to be. And with your input, with a great designer who will eventually get on board, we're gonna make that happen. So I urge you to stay involved, as everyone's saying, so we can make this, the best thing it can be.
If I could add to that just briefly, think of this not as a branch library, but a place where literally our history is stored. And we can access that history and study it and appreciate it. And not just us, but all of Houston for decades to come. And so I believe there might be a place for, a small place for regular library services where books can be checked out, and maybe John can speak to that as well, funds allowing. Did you hear that, John?
Yes. So we do have, as part of the plan here, that came about at the request of the community at a previous open house that Buffalo Bayou Partnership held more than a year ago. to have some type of library service here. One of our service models is called HPL Express. It's a smaller version of our libraries that is a place to access computers and collections and resources and some small programs. There is space here to do that. It's not funded currently. I'm working hard to get it funded, but I didn't want to hold back this project waiting for that funding because that's a separate operation from a research center. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some news about whether that's going to go forward now or later. But we understand and we heard that the community wants some type of library service here because it's going to be a great, fantastic park. All kinds of things here. You can grab a book and, or check out a book or whatever resources you might want to do that isn't available in a research center. So we are looking into that. It's part of the bigger plan. I'm just trying to work on funding. I'll ask the council members to help me with that too.
We had our congresswoman here earlier. We have some state elected officials here. We need y'all to also help us with that as well.
Good morning, council members. Thank you, Councilmember Castillo, for putting this event on. I appreciate it. It makes me proud to see you three guys standing up there. I wanted to ask, when it comes time, and forgive me if this has already been cleared up somewhere, but when it comes time to staff the facility, is there a way to ensure that priority is given to maybe some of the people in the neighborhood?
That's an HR question. Anybody can apply that's qualified. I don't think that I can speak to who can be hired. I mean, that's just not how this works. But certainly anyone who's qualified can apply for a position at HPL.
So I'll add to that, right? We're in a city of over 2 million folks. Almost half of them are Latino. And I want to say that we definitely can find some qualified folks, whether it's archivists, whether it's architects, whether it's folks to staff. So when those opportunities come and we start sharing those, hey, they're about to staff up, Latinos are here. We're half the population, and we're more than qualified as well. So.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Duarte. I am the president of ALMA. I want to start by commending the effort not only of our council members, but also of all of the advocates that have made this dream a possibility. So a big round of applause to all of the leaders here. For so long, the Latino community has been pushing to find our place and to get the recognition that we deserve, to be able to contribute what we know that we have to contribute. So I think that what we're doing today, it's not only asking questions and learning about this incredible project, but really celebrating what we have accomplished so far. Now, the question that I have is, how are we going to take this to the next level and really build the partnerships that we continue to talk about so that we can integrate all of these incredible efforts, including, for example, Arte Público Press. When ALMA was imagined and was being born, archiving was one of the central aspects of it. So now, as the president of ALMA, I'm very interested in partnering with the library, with Arte Público Press, and with many other institutions so that we together as a community can move the ball forward. So the specific question would be, is there a strategic plan in mind to really integrate all of these efforts that are moving our community forward?
Well, I don't know that there's one big, huge, grand plan, Carlos. My own personal view is that this is going to take commitment from a library department that is committed to listening, really listening, and putting suggestions into practice, to elected officials who are willing to hold departments accountable and to listen to the community, and members of the community who are willing to engage continuously and make sure that their views are heard and carried out.
Thank you, and I think that you're right. We are the leaders that we were waiting for, right? So let's work together and let's continue to move this forward. Thank you.
All right, we have a question from Jess Rodriguez.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for doing this. It's a great job. I just wanted to make a suggestion. The first thing was to see about getting a metro stop outside for our students and neighborhood people. So we can talk to Metro about that, so we can get a bus stop outside. And number two is, is there any plans for a repository for music? So that way we can, all the music from this Houston area can be available, and videos of films and things are done in this neighborhood from the Houston Media Source, Houston Community College, and our news media. So that will give us a history of our community.
Thank you, sir. The archives collect all kinds of media, and what the community brings to us, or what collections come to us, will help build that collection. We don't know what's out there. We depend on you, on your resources, on the community to alert us, to help find those things. One of the biggest collections we have is photos. HPL has one of the largest photo collections in this country. We do some, not much music, but we've had fantastic, Michaela did a fantastic music collection and exhibit years ago that was really fantastic. So there are opportunities to expand what we do, to grow the collection. With this space, as I mentioned, we'll have space to do and improve those things. But I cannot stress enough that it also takes resources. It doesn't do any good for us to get a ton of stuff if we don't have the people to process it. If we don't have the funds to send it out for processing, it'll sit. And we don't want that to happen. So it's a collective effort to both find things and ensure that we have the resources to handle them properly. And that's part of our challenge, and we'll look forward to any assistance we can with that.
Okay, and to the first part of your question, Jess, we will look into the feasibility of having a metro stop here.
Buenos dias. My name is Dr. Michelle Tovar. I'm the Director of Education at the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum. Not questions, but more about comments about accessibility. I've walked around the room a bit. Maybe I haven't seen it too much. It's a little dim in here, but there's a lack of access to language. And Spanish being the second most spoken language here in this city should be something that we consider, right? Being a priority to open the doors to our Spanish-speaking communities here in this area. Second of all, as a Chicana who has worked in white institutions and Black institutions in this area of public history, there's been a lack of funding for internship programs for Latinx students. Currently, I have 2 Latinx students at Buffalo Soldiers who are flourishing, doing great in our archives, but they also need to be a part of their community, right? They're Houston natives, but they don't know anything about Houston. So what can we do as a community and as the Houston Public Library to create funding opportunities for our future generation? We have our elders here that can share the stories, but we also need those young people's voices and their power, right, to get us through that. So thank you.
Absolutely, and we agree with you. Almost all of our programming and marketing is at least bilingual. We support about 8 different languages, but almost everything is also done in Spanish that we produce. Regarding internships and funding, it's been mentioned about a friends group. The friends group that we exist now help do that too. They help raise money, they help find grants, they help find supporters to do those types of things that the library's regular budget can't do. So I look forward to, we really look forward to a friends group being put together, and what that friends group does is up to the group. So maybe you'll focus on fundraising, maybe you'll focus on these partnerships that we're hearing about. You'll focus on all kinds of things. The friends group can do that. I would expect this friends group to be one of those powerful ones we've ever had. And I really look forward to that being formed and to it becoming our partner in making things happen here that literally we can't do without you. I think you've all heard the city may be having budget cuts, not budget increases. So we are very limited right now in what we can do. I mean, it all sounds great, but it all takes money. And so if we can, again, help with that, and it isn't just about money, it's about your time, being involved, staying involved, coming to one meeting isn't gonna help. We need people to commit to it. And I think that in this room and with these council members, we can get there.
If I can also add, yes, it is a challenging financial environment that we're in, and it's going to get rougher. as the mayor has said. But one thing I think we should look at we should look to our corporate sponsors and make sure that we have corporations here in Houston that are being good corporate citizens, and maybe play a role in this as well.
Hello, my name is Amanda de Rosario, and well, I'm called a lot of things, but one thing I'd like to represent myself as an advocate for the arts here in Houston. Well, actually, the first two folks mentioned my questions. I didn't want to leave the microphone alone. So one of the things that I feel is very important is collaboration. I'm hoping that there would be some type of a collaborative where many organizations can help with the funding and sharing of their expertise and what has made their organization successful. So that's something I would like to see. But in addition to that, I think a question that I have, because the room is filled with incredible leaders here in the area. So my question is, where do our artifacts live here in Houston? Where do we have things that we can show where our stuff is actually promoted and preserved and presented in a nice way where it's not Hispanic Heritage Month?
If I can just say a little bit to that. If these artifacts may be in your own home. They may be in our own homes, right? As we think about the history of our family and what prior generations have done, there is space for oral histories and other artifacts that might fit well within this collection. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Middleton for the rest of that.
Thank you. As I mentioned, we don't collect 3D objects in particular in the research centers. Sometimes they come to us and we use them for exhibits, for galleries, for special presentations, but we're just not set up to house artifacts in particular. We don't have the resources for that. I would love to maybe have a discussion about what that means and how the city can participate in that going forward. But right now, that's just not something we are able to do.
Well, I really hope that you could add in the agenda, because in a city so big that we don't have that is a failure. I know it's not what we're doing here. This is a win, and I'm excited for this win. But please, if you could help us find a way, what kind of funding is needed, share it, or something in public that we could see what's the amount that's needed and see as a community how we can come together and make it happen.
Thank you.
Diana Hernandez, I'm a doctoral student and a high school educator and a native Houstonian. I was wondering if y'all were planning on offering genealogical services, more specialized genealogical services, because what they have at the Clayton is not enough or not adequate. We in the Latino community need more bilingual genealogists to begin with. And so I was wondering if that was something that y'all were considering.
I don't know is the answer to that question, but I take that question back to our leadership, particularly for the Family History Research Center, which is where genealogy is housed in our system. One of the plans for this effort is to make sure that all the research centers are connected, that even online or within how we market them, people understand that there are different places to go for different things. The Family Research Center is all about genealogy, and it should be about genealogy for everybody and all of Houstonians. So if there's a missing link there that is bilingual genealogists, we'll try to address that.
Right, because no one at the Clayton speaks Spanish right now, so.
Hola mis amigos, ¿cómo están? My name is Judith Castillo. I am a PhD student at the University of Houston, and I want to thank Arte Público for being here. I also want to mention to you the struggle as PhD students that we have whenever we're taking graduate classes, and especially I'm in my last term of dissertation right now, that we have to do a lot of research. There isn't, a place, and this will be the first place and a great opportunity for doctoral students and graduate students to come and do their research. So I am very grateful for that, and I just want to, thank you for the commencement and the hard work that you guys want to put. My question is, are you also open to doing more visual like podcasts online and not just archiving the history, but also we need to interview great leaders that we have. I've been doing that for the Que Onda magazine, and it's amazing to hear these amazing stories of great leaders that we have. So this will be a great opportunity, not just to put it on paper, but also to put something visual for our Latinos to see, and they can join online and we can be telling the history that we have currently right now.
Thank you for that. I'll put a plug in for our newest neighborhood library opening in June. It'll be the first library that we have a podcast studio. We don't know how it's going to be received or how well it's going to work, but I hear what you're saying, and I think maybe that's something we can integrate here if the community thinks it'll be used. I think it's a great idea. So those are the kind of things that we want to hear, that we may be able to integrate into this facility. Regarding researchers, this space will allow us to have study carrels and research rooms that students and others can reserve over time, not just for an hour, for days if they need to, so they don't have to take everything away and they can lock that room and work on it. We have to figure out how many do we need, what will be the usage, because every bit of square footage needs to be really important and not wasted. And so one of the things I look for from input is not just what do we want, what are we going to use? We have a finite amount of space and a finite amount of money. We got to make the best of it. So if the students believe they'll come here, they'll use this, please let us know that and push it, and we'll try to accommodate that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when we think about how we preserve history and also how we tell the stories of our history, the different media types are really important because people consume their information in different ways. It's not always through a book. Sometimes it's through a video. Sometimes it's through a podcast. Sometimes we can share it out on Instagram in a reel, just to get people engaged. And so thinking about things from that perspective is really important, and I want to make sure that we continue to do that as we think about how we collect and share our history, and I'd love to talk to you more about it.
If I can just say something just briefly, this has been a very good experience, and I want to make sure that we're mindful of everybody else's time as well. So I'll be the bad guy and say that after Jessica is our last question, this is not the last meeting that we're going to have or conversation we're going to have, right? We're going to continue to have these opportunities where you can come speak. All of our offices are open as well. Y'all can meet with us individually. Y'all can meet with us together. Freddie sat with us over tacos yesterday. And so just want to be mindful. So I know we're giving everybody about a minute. If y'all can respect that time, and then we'll get the answers or get those comments addressed as well.
It's me again. So, and I hope that I've given enough time for us to loop around real quick. Just real quick, there's a mural that sits on Canal Street, right on the next block, that is encapsulating everything I believe is getting done here today. If you get a chance, go onto Canal. I was born and raised 4 blocks from there, and I really feel that this is kind of encapsulating that. My question is for all of the minority business owners, women business owners here today. So I know that y'all talked earlier in the hour or earlier today about RFQs and RFPs. That is a request for proposal, right? So
A request for qualification as well.
Qualifications and proposal. So I'm wondering what website that's going to go off on. Is that going to be on Bonfire? Is it going to be on, do we know that yet? I know it's still early in the process, but do we know where that RFP is going to go out on?
So it should have been out already as of yesterday. That's what we're told. I'm not sure if it was fully fleshed out yet. You want to speak to that, John?
Well, I have a second question in that, just to fold into that. Being that it is an RFP, being that there may be business owners in here, what is being done to help them through that process? It is an extensive process, and I'm just wondering if there's any resources that this project is utilizing to help those businesses manage that RFP, RFQ process.
So the current RFQ, request for qualifications, is specifically for the architect contractor for the entire project.
Yes.
This isn't for subcontractors or things like that. So it'll be listed on the city's website, and I don't know where else. I'll ask GSD and we'll get that to you. But there's always a meeting at GSD for anyone who's interested in applying for the RFQ.
Can you give the name of that acronym?
The General Services Department.
Thank you.
So in the RFQ, it'll list their address, their name, their contact for questions. And then there's always a meeting for anybody who's interested in applying through the RFQ to come and ask more questions and understand what's really, really required. So look forward to that. It'll be on GSD's website, but I'll let the council members know when I contact them where else it might be posted.
Now that question, that invitation for questions, usually there's a time limit on that.
Yes.
So just saying, everybody, yes, there is a question period to ask questions about the project and the process for getting applications or finding an application for it, but there is a time limit for that.
Correct.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's about 30 days.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Maldonado, and I'm representing Senator Carol Alvarado's office. My question is about timeline for when the community will get to see this project actualized. I know for me, I definitely came back here, moved back to Houston to research my family lineage, and that kind of genealogical work and feeling that our history is reflected in community is so important, and is often just under funded and valued. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the Friends Group and how community partnerships can make this an incredible opportunity for everyone here.
Thank you for that comment. And just briefly, for everybody that's towards the back, we're almost done. If y'all can lower your voices, I guess I'll be the bad guy again. If y'all can lower your voices, we're almost done. These are all important comments and questions. And to that comment, right, I think the Friends Group, and John mentioned it, it's not a group to be a part of just to say you're a part of it. We want folks to be ready to help fundraise. We want folks that have the expertise to be able to give guidance. We want folks to fully participate. And so in those in your comments, right, I look forward to seeing what that makeup looks like. And I want to just reiterate, this is not something that you can put a badge on your shoulder and say, hey, I'm a part of the Friends Group. It's real work. And that real work, when we're working, we need you all to meet us halfway with that as well as the community. And so we look forward to extending that to everyone, not a select few, but everyone. And then also making sure that as you participate in this Friends Group, that you put some real work in as well.
I just wanted to circle back to the timeline question as well.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, we started about 10 years ago. We got it finally into the CIP about 5 years ago. We got the funding approved last year. We are about to start design. Design takes about 6, 7, 8 months because it's just an interior project, so that helps. During this time, Buffalo Valley Partnership will be finishing this building. So in about a year, we should start construction on the interiors. That takes another year. So we're looking 2 years out from right now, if everything goes well. And I'm going to assume it is going to go well.
As my mom says, si Dios quiere.
Hi, I'm back. I really appreciate the language about community and community input and the Friends Group. That is extremely important. You can tell we are always here ready to step up as we have today. However, I am a little concerned about, that is a lot of work, as you mentioned, Joaquin. I tried to do it on my own when I was at the library. It is a lot of work. So my concern is, if all of that work is being put back on the community, this is a staffing question. How well staffed will this new research center be? I know that the African American Library at the Gregory School has a community engagement position. I'm very hopeful that this center is also going to be thinking in that way. Will we have a grant writer? Will we have the positions needed to sustain these collections and do all of that work that we're talking about, in addition to managing community input. That alone is an incredible amount of work. So thank you.
Micaela, and we've had this conversation several times, and I agree, right? Please know that we're saying halfway. The city has a huge responsibility as well. Us as your elected officials, your public servants, the library, and if y'all been paying attention, we have an administration, a mayor that is listening as well. How we staff the public library, how it's equitable for all communities, that's something that personally, we're gonna make sure we get our fair share. We will get our fair share when it comes to what happens here. Because this is not just about this specific space, it's about what I mentioned earlier. We're half the population and we deserve the space as well. So know that I'm pushing back on y'all, push back on us, and that relationship is important. Not in a contentious way, in a loving family way.
Yes, and I'll add on, when we ask you all to help and to meet us halfway, it's not because we're trying to push off work onto you. It's because we want you to be involved and be participating and share your concerns and your feedback so that we can get a better, whatever it may be, in this case, a research center that is serving the needs of the community. So it is working together. It is both parties engaged, both parties active, but it's not trying to skirt responsibility or say, well, let's just let the community do the heavy lifting, because we want to be equal partners and we want to make sure that your voices are heard and represented.
I just wanted to make sure, John, did you have anything to add about the staffing of the research center?
Yeah, it is hard, is all I can tell you. And we're going to look forward to, as council members and the community, making sure that the needs for this facility and its staffing is supported. The library doesn't make its own budget, and there are difficulties there. Some of the positions, as you know, have been grant funded, but they're usually temporary, 2 or 3 years. But that's when we've been able to get extra staff to do some of these things for some of these locations. So it goes back to our resources. We have a full-time grant writer at the library now, and her job is all the grants for everything we do. And that was something we didn't have for a long time. So there has been progress made, but I can't guarantee there'll be a grant writer just for this facility, unless there's a huge increase in funding for that. But so far we've been pretty successful with the grant writer we have. It's a great team. So all these things matter. We'll have to do what we can with what we have. The more we have, the more we can do. Regarding equity, our master plan is about equity. The whole thing is about equity. We understand that things can never be equal. We want to make sure that we have equitable access to our resources, our staffing, our materials across the entire city. And that's something we've been working towards since we developed this master plan.
My name is Geraldina Interiano Wise, and full disclosure, I'm on the board of Buffalo Bayou, and incredibly impressed on the investment that is being made in this part of Houston. But I'm also the leader of ALMA. Carlos, our first president, mentioned ALMA. ALMA stands for Advocates for a Latino Museum of Visual and Cultural Arts and Archives in Houston, Harris County. I think you understand where this is headed. The library does not have enough for us. This is not enough for us. What hasn't been given to us is vast and can never be given back. So we've got so much to catch up. So I'm going to push on all of you. The pressure here is, like Carlos Duarte said, to align. Because right now, that's why I didn't speak until I heard everything that was being said. Because right now, we're putting all our eggs on the basket of this research center. This is not a party. This is a research center. So thank you for being honest with us, John. This is just a little part of what we need. We need the party. ALMA is the party. So there's much more to be done here. I'm going to speak precisely about the archive. We think, because we've been speaking to the community for a year and a half now, profoundly speaking to the community. And what comes back is that we have the objects of our culture. The lady with the beautiful headdress there, the objects of our culture, we wear them. We are the objects of our culture. We have them. And yet they're being lost because there's nowhere to put them. So we think that aligning Alma can be a part of the answer to a lot of what is missing. We can't put all our eggs on this research center. It's not going to yield everything the community needs. Everything of what we've been needing for decades and generations. But we think with a bold vision of alignment, so this is on you, this is on the new mayor, this is on, all our elected officials, to understand that when we talk about the Friends group for this, oh my gosh, there's just a bigger, bolder plan for Friends, because all of this is not going to take one person here or one person there. It's going to take every one of us, which is why I'm excited to feel the excitement of everybody coming here today. So I thank you for your power of convening. It will serve us well to stay connected. So I urge everybody to funnel through them, funnel through Alma, everything you think this community needs. We're right in time to figure this out together with incredible collaborations with UH, with Rice, with Arte Público Press that I'm also on the board of. I know what's happening here. We just have to stop being silos and put it together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Madel, and I'm with the Museo Guadalupe Aztlán. And I came here today hoping that we could partnership with y'all or work with y'all, whatever it needs to take to have a museum here. The Museum of Fine Arts is for the white people, and the blacks have a museum, but the Hispanics don't. And the majority of Houston, Texas are Hispanics. The majority of the people in this room are Hispanics. We are taxpayers. We need to have our own museum. And also want to say that congratulate you, you have a beautiful building, but I'm disappointed that you're not going to have a museum here, because we have a lot of art to offer you. We have a lot, besides just what you want to have here, we have a lot of other arts that we want to contribute to you. So if you would help us, because we have been a museum since 1994, and it's been a museum on wheels. We take it to the schools, we take it to the libraries, whoever wants it. If you want it at your home, we take it to your home. But we need a building. And like I said, we're taxpayers and we should have something, because we are the majority here in Houston, Texas, and it's a shame that we don't have a museum. Thank you.
Okay. Buenos días. My name is Alfredo Freddy Blanco. Primeramente, I just want to let you know, thank you for what you guys are doing over here. And all I hear is the same thing for the last 30 years. This project has been in the table for over 10 years. And now I applaud you with together. We need it. Every time we have something, we have to think like a family. We are family. We have to stick together. It's time for us to arise, because everybody uses us as battle horses. The longer we take it to the place they conquer, and then forget about us. It's time. It's time, no more begging. It's time for the men. We got enough elected officials, Hispanic elected officials. Please put your family first. And this is your family. We are part of this. We've been denied. I don't know where to stop or where to start, but you need to start working together. We need to demand our rights. It's our right. It's time for us. You hear all these people? We are very cultural people. We are the real rainbow. We all different colors and a race. As a Mexicano, Latino, Chicano, wherever we are together, and it's time to continue. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. We just sit right here. Don't let this church go take it by somebody else. When you're looking for somebody working in this, look for the Hispanic community first. Because there's enough Latinos from all over. Mexico, Central America, Venezuela, from everywhere with a lot of titles. We conquer, we're building the freeways, we're building the schools, we're building the street. It's time for us today. Don't let this seat go. Grab it. It's time for us. Thank you again. Que Dios los bendiga.
Thank you. I'm Jessica Castillo Halsey, and I'm a member of this neighborhood. I just want to say congratulations. We're so very happy to see this happening today. And I just want to say that today, it's a beautiful day in my neighborhood, okay? It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. Yes. Thank you so much, council members. Thank you so much, City of Houston. And I agree with each and every council member comments about the community. We all here today, remember today, okay? We all responsible. We need to be serious about giving back to our neighborhoods. We also responsible, not just the council member, not just the mayor. We need to be making presence. And here today, this is history. This is history, and I'm so delighted that it's happening today and that it's happening in the East End Second Ward. Congratulations, council member. Congratulations, City of Houston. It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. Beautiful day in my neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, that was our last speaker. Thank you so much, Jessica. And thank you all for staying throughout this event, for asking your questions, giving your comments. This is exactly why we put this together. This is exactly why the library is here, the partnership is here. We want you to be a part of this. Like Joaquin said, this is just the beginning. This doesn't stop today. We're gonna continue. Feel free to stay, visit the tables, visit with us. I want to thank all the staff from our offices and for putting this together, as well as HPD and the constable for helping with getting us across the street safely. We really appreciate all your questions and your engagement, and also the East End Management District as well. It took a lot of folks to put this event together, and we really appreciate it.